special guest tonight is the lead Senate candidate for the Victorian Greens in the next Australian federal election. He's also a public health specialist and drug and alcohol clinician. We're pleased to welcome Richard Di Natale to the show. Richard, thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. And so I thought we'd start off by talking about your personal involvement in politics. How did you originally become involved in the Greens?
Oh, well, it's a long story. I was doing some work in the Northern Territory, working for an Aboriginal health organisation. And I suppose I got a little frustrated that a lot of the problems that I was seeing were not just health and medical problems, but they were problems that really were the result of issues like education and poor housing and those sorts of things, things that really were the result of political decisions. So I was a little frustrated in my work. I was seeing a lot of environmental degradation. There were a lot of issues that were live through the 90s, and I came across a book written by Bob Brown and Peter Singer, and it made sense. And I thought, well, hang on, here's a political party who I can relate to. I lost a bit of faith in the Labor Party through the 90s, and so I ended up joining the Greens and got involved.
Oh, fantastic. Do you see Bob Brown as a role model?
Oh yes, well Bob's also got a medical background. He's a doctor as well, so that's my background. So he's a bit of a mentor to me. He's somebody I respect enormously. He's been a hugely influential figure in Australian politics, and I've got a lot of respect and a lot of time for him. He's a very genuine and authentic person.
Oh, that's great. Can you explain for those who don't know how the Greens evolved and developed throughout the 90s to be what they are today? Sure.
Well, not many people know that the Greens really started in Tasmania. We're now a global party. There are Green parties all across the world. But the Greens started in Tasmania. They started on the back of the Lake Pedder campaign. There was a campaign to flood Lake Pedder, and under a different name, the Greens were formed. And from there they went from strength to strength. They got people elected in the Tasmanian Parliament, then later to the federal Parliament with Bob, and now they're a global phenomenon and going from strength to strength.
It's amazing. Of course, they lost that first Pedder campaign.
That's right.
But they won the River campaign. So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's
I suppose they gathered some strength there.
Yes.
Yeah. What environmental issues do you see as being the most prominent from the 90s? What concerned you about the 90s?
I think the iconic campaign of that sort of era, there was the Franklin campaign, then leading on to the Pedder campaign, and then there was this issue called global warming. And the Greens, while we weren't getting much traction on it, we were campaigning actively on the issue of global warming and climate change back in the 90s. Now, it's a testament to the people in the Green movement that an issue that was not really in public consciousness, but something that we all knew about, and we knew that the repercussions of climate change were going to be enormous. We campaigned quite hard during that time, and remember Bob being laughed at in the Parliament because he was talking about, sea level rises of several metres, and people sort of laughed at him for those sort of wild predictions, and it's all coming to pass. So what we saw then was the transition of an issue that had a little bit of traction but is now a global phenomenon, and people understand that it's something we need to do something about very, very quickly. Yeah, well,
where do the Greens stand on climate change policy? What do you intend to do?
Well, there are a few options. I mean, the Greens now are talking about a carbon tax. We're saying that what we need is a price on carbon. And the simplest thing we can do in the short term is put a price on carbon so that we reduce the amount of carbon pollution in the atmosphere. Of course, the government's proposed a complex emissions trading scheme. It involves providing a lot of compensation to the coal industry. And the worst thing about it is that the targets are so low that it's going to actually do nothing to reduce our emissions. In fact, emissions won't change till at least 2030, and we know that's far too late. So we've got a simple solution in terms of carbon tax, but there's other things: public transport, better energy efficiency in houses, reducing waste of electricity is a huge issue in terms of, and opportunities in terms of reducing waste in terms of power that's generated. So there are a number of things that we could do, simple things that we could do straight away, but unfortunately the government's been dragging their heels with the issue.
Do you think that conservation has been left behind, given that climate change has been a priority? Do you think people are forgetting about sort of more immediate environmental issues? Like in the 80s, I suppose there's a lot of chaining to trees and immediate action, whereas now we're more in a planning process. Do you think there's enough immediate conservation support?
So it's a good question. Look, one of the simplest things we could do about climate change is we could stop logging native forests. The Greens obviously have been campaigning very hard for that, and we've been campaigning hard on that for a number of years, right through the 90s and up until today. The focus of climate change has been a lot around these technical discussions around carbon trading schemes versus carbon taxes and so on. But there are some very simple, immediate things that we can do, and stopping the logging of native forests is one of those things. In Tasmania, we're clear felling some of the most beautiful, pristine wilderness areas. If we stop doing that, we left that area alone, we know that that would have an immediate impact on our emissions, because native forests are a huge store of carbon. So one of the things about climate change debate is it's also an opportunity to focus on those immediate environmental issues like logging.
Definitely. Well, good luck in the election, Richard. You know, I'll be voting for you, so
good on you.
Thank you very much. And just really quickly, I'd like to ask you about being a doctor. Of course, you're obviously concerned about people's health. How do you see climate change affecting people's health? You've been noted to talk about that before.
Yeah, look, it's a huge issue, and people don't understand that climate change can have a huge impact on people's health. Heat waves, we saw huge heat waves in Victoria, thousands of people dying as a result of it, directly attributable to climate change. Things like malaria, we're getting the spread of diseases coming further south because the mosquitoes that breed, that cause malaria, are responding to changes in the climate. So there are a number of things like that that are going to have a huge impact on human health. So it's not just an environmental issue, it's a health issue, and it's why we need to do something about it urgently.
Oh, well, thank goodness someone's onto it. Thank you so much, Richard, and good luck again.
It's a pleasure.